All right, let's dive right in. We're taking a look at the history of Japan. And what's so fascinating is that it's a story of constant, dramatic reinvention. Seriously, we're going to trace how it went from a land of warring samurai all the way to a nation planning a futuristic, super smart society. So let's get started. Now, this quote really gets to the heart of it. See, when we talk about Japanese history, it's not just a boring list of who was in charge. The eras are defined by so much more, by the culture itself. We're talking about what people were doing, what they wore, what they believed. So what you'll see isn't just a change in leadership, it's a complete transformation of society, again and again. Okay, so here's the game plan. We're going to start in the Age of Warriors, total chaos. Then we'll shift to a period of incredible peace and isolation. After that, a mad dash to modernize. And finally, we'll look at its amazing recovery after World War II and where it's headed now. Think of it as 4 major acts in Japan's incredible story. All right, Act 1, the era of the warrior. We're jumping into feudal Japan, and to put it mildly, it was a century of pure chaos. This was an era completely defined by the sword, where the fight for power just consumed the entire nation in non-stop conflict. So, this period is called the Sengoku Jidai, or the Warring States period. And really, Japan was a country on paper only. You had the emperor and the shogun, the military leader, who were supposed to be in charge, but in reality, their power had completely crumbled. There was this huge power vacuum, and the whole system was just paralyzed. So, who was actually in charge? Well, it was these powerful feudal lords, the daimyo. Each one was basically a king of his own little territory, with his own army, and they were all locked in this constant, brutal fight for more power, more land. The whole century was just one long, bloody battle to see which one of these ambitious warlords could finally conquer everyone else and unify the country. And now, for one of the most dramatic turnarounds in history, we go from that total chaos to a period of incredible order and isolation. The Age of the Warrior ends, and a brand new system takes over. One that would bring peace for hundreds of years, but it came at a price, shutting Japan off from the entire world. Just look at the contrast here. It's night and day. We go from collapsed authority to a strong, centralized government under the Tokugawa Shogunate. From non-stop war to over 250 years of peace, it's an unbelievable shift from the total free-for-all of the Sengoku period to a time of strict, stable control. So how did they maintain this great peace for so long? A huge part of it was this policy called Sakoku. It basically means closed country. The government was determined to keep foreign influence out to maintain control, so they pretty much sealed the borders. No one in, no one out. This allowed Japan's unique culture to really flourish on its own, but it also meant that, technologically, the rest of the world started to pull away. Okay, Act 3, the modern rush. That long, quiet peace, it's about to be shattered. Western powers show up and they aren't taking no for an answer. This forces Japan's hand, sparking a revolution and kicking off an absolutely frantic race to change everything. And when I say frantic, I mean it happened fast, like incredibly fast. In 1853, American warships show up and literally blow Japan's isolationist policy out of the water. Just 15 years later, the shogunate, this government that had been in power for centuries, is completely gone. It was a violent, chaotic collapse that paved the way for something entirely new. So what was the big idea behind this revolution? Well, it wasn't just about getting rid of the shogun. The driving force was to restore power to the emperor. The plan was to build a modern nation, but one that was centered on the ancient, almost sacred authority of the emperor himself. And the leaders of this new Meiji era moved at lightning speed. I mean, they tore down the entire feudal system. They brought all the power back to the emperor. And then they went on a crash course, adopting everything they could from the West. Technology, military tactics, government ideas. The motivation was crystal clear. Get modern, fast, or get colonized by the West. It was a race for survival. Now for Act 4. That empire Japan built so quickly, well, it ultimately led to absolute disaster in World War II. But what happened next is maybe the most incredible reinvention of all. From the literal ashes of defeat, Japan pulled off one of the most amazing economic comebacks the world has ever seen. I mean, just imagine it. After the war, the country was devastated, completely in ruins. But instead of giving up, the Japanese people made a very conscious choice. They decided to pivot hard. Forget military power. The new focus was going to be all about rebuilding the economy. And this new strategy got a name, the Yoshida Doctrine. And honestly, it was kind of a genius move. The plan was simple. Let the United States handle national defense. By relying on the U.S. security umbrella, Japan could spend next to nothing on its own military, and that meant every single yen, all that energy, could be poured directly into economic recovery. And did it work? Oh, yeah. The results were absolutely staggering. This doctrine is what fueled the famous post-war economic miracle. In just a few decades, Japan went from ruins to a global economic powerhouse. Japanese cars, electronics, their products became the gold standard for quality and innovation everywhere. Which brings us to today and our final act, Society 5.0. After all these incredible reinventions, Japan is already planning its next big transformation. This time, it's about a future where technology and daily life are merged in ways we've never seen before. They're calling this vision Society 5.0, and it's a huge national project. The goal is to build what they call a super smart society. What does that mean? Well, the idea is to use all kinds of advanced tech to solve some of Japan's biggest problems, like its aging population, by basically fusing the digital world with our physical world. And you can see the tech that's going to make this happen. We're talking 5G, AI, robotics, all things Japan is already a world leader in. The big idea is to weave all of this together to create a society that's smarter, more responsive, and ultimately a better place to live for everyone. So, when you look back from the chaos of warring lords to the dream of a super smart society, you see this incredible pattern. Japan's history is a story of tearing down and building back up, stronger and different than before. It just constantly reinvents itself. So the real question isn't if Japan will transform again, it's what will that next great reinvention look like?